Good morning. Today I bring forth to you the four agreements. I can't believe this was in my first video. However, four agreements, we all heard of the Ten Commandments and the Summas and the mantras and the Four Noble Truths and all that. But the four agreements are much simpler than that. And they were written by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's been brought to him through generations, through the ancient Toltecs. So, without further ado, have your cup of coffee, or your water, green tea. Four agreements. First one, be impeccable with your word. Now, impeccable, the word impeccable comes from the Latin word sin pecado. Sin pecado, just like in Spanish, it means without sin. What constitutes as a sin is what you truly believe here that it is wrong. So be without sin, be without wrong. Therefore, speak only the truth. There was a study that if a person had a little stain on their arm, and you went up to that person and you said, hey, you know, that stain is cancer. If that person believed that, a year from then, they would have cancer. That's amazing how powerful your word is. You could tell a kid that they're ugly, and they would have that with them their whole life. You planted that seed. You could tell that little girl or that little boy, and they got a terrible voice when they're singing to you, and they're 5, 4, 3, 6, 7, 8 years old, and you tell them they got an ugly voice for the rest of their life. They could have been the next Mariah Carey. However, they believe they got an ugly voice. You planted that seed. In relationships, it could be such a you don't ever want to have to regret anything that you say, ever. I practice this. I've been with my wife for about 10 years, and I try to make sure I don't say anything I don't regret. I am proud to say that in over 10 years, I've never called her name. However, it's not about me. People have gotten killed for the voice. Small, very small example, Hitler. His voice killed millions. Actually, I'm not sure if it's millions. I'm sure it's within the hundreds of thousands. However, the voice is your word is something tremendous. With your voice, with your word, you could share beauty. You could share art. You know, I mean, what's music but art? You could motivate. You can make a person go an extra mile, and many do. I mean, we all know that those motivational speakers, those people that help you go that extra mile. Anthony Robbins gets paid very well, and he only gets called when they need that athlete, you know, to go that extra mile to finish up, to win. But it's your choice. You can share light or you can share darkness, and I believe we've all read that little passage in those keychains that say wisdom is knowing what to say and when to say it, and knowing when to shut up. And practicing to be impeccable with your word will change your life and everything around you. For your word creates. You create light or you create darkness. And for the most part, when I started practicing this about 10 years ago, I wrote this commandment, this agreement. Sometimes you don't agree with it, and it's okay. I wrote it in my hand for a couple weeks every day. And so many a times I just stood quiet. I was very aware that my voice created life or created darkness, created light or created darkness. And many a times it's just knowing when not to say anything. If you're unsure, just be quiet. It's the best thing, but it's your choice. And it is an important agreement. All four agreements are very important. Moving on to the next one. You should never take anything personal. I know, this is a hard one. They're all basically hard if you make them hard. However, you should not take anything personal. You got to realize that everybody's action, reaction towards you, to you, anything they say or do, is a projection, is a reflection of themselves. When I say projection, I mean it just like a film. People live in a dream, in their own dream, in their own, it's like a movie. It's like a film in your head. And you have your own dream, I have my own dream. I live in my own perception. And it's like if we are in a film, I'm the star, everybody else is just a supporting character. So when people snap at you, when people react a certain different way with you, don't take it personal, for it is their reflection. We all know that miserable person that always snaps at you, that pessimist that's always just bringing you down. However, don't take it personal, for maybe they're just miserable. But it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of who they are. If anything, feel sorry for them. But we can't hold a grudge. We can't, my cup could only hold so much. And why am I going to hold negativity? Why am I going to put that on my shoulders? It just doesn't make sense. Most people that know me know that I often say your biggest adversaries are your best teachers. They're going to teach you a lot about you. They're going to teach you about how you react to them. And it is so true. I mean, those people that have aggravated me throughout time, I find the beauty in them. They're there for a reason. They're there to teach me something. And that's ironic when you close your eyes or look aside like I usually do and think of those people that aggravate you in your life, and to think that they are your best teachers. They're going to teach you how you're going to handle that. They're going to teach you how you're going to react to them. So, never take anything personal. So we already went through two of them. Be impeccable with your word. Never take anything personal. Here's number 3. Never assume. I know. If we adopt that one alone, we would change our whole life. Never assume. Never assume anything. I mean, how many times, even since we were kids, we assumed that if mom or dad would find out about what we did, oh my God, we're going to get this whooping and this and that and the other. And still as adults, we make a mistake. We do this and we assume that, the worst is going to happen. And we put this unnecessary stress on our shoulders, on our life, which stress kills. And stress is something unlike everything else that, fear is good for you. At least there's good stuff in fear. There's good stuff in pain, but stress just kills you. And you get high blood pressure, neurons are all in shambles, and your nerves are all in shambles, however. So you put unnecessary stress. And there's nothing good about assuming. We create the words. We assume people are something, or we assume they'll react a certain way, and it's just not so. And Don Miguel Ruiz says that there is no room for passive aggression, and that many a times we don't have the courage to ask. You know, we're in a conversation and we're assuming they feel one way or the other. And have the courage to ask for clarity. You know, don't assume. Don't assume. Assuming will kill you. Assuming will kill. You know, all these agreements create, and what you choose for them to create is on you. But they're gonna create. So, you know, create something positive. Create light. Don't create darkness. My last one seems like the easiest. However, it's gonna take some time. Always do your best. Your best is gonna be different from time to time. Your best is gonna be different from moment to moment. Your best is gonna be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you are sick. When you're full rested as opposed to when you're hungover. When you are totally energized and you have set up your day perfectly, awesomely, fully inspired, energetic, as opposed to when you have things going on in your life. Whenever you have an argument with your spouse or your mother or somebody, you know, going back to taking things personal, one of the hardest places that you're going to find that exercise succeeding is going to be with the people closest to you. It's not easy to not take things personal from your spouse or your brother or your sister or your mother or your father. It's those are the places that you let your guard down and you don't think that you got to exercise disagreement, however it is. So back to always doing your best. You always do your best. You're going to sleep better at night. You're going to feel as if you succeeded in life when you do your best. You're going to get to bed. I say, today I live, tonight I die. Why? Because I set myself to die tonight. I set myself that tonight when I go to bed, I said I did all I could do. I did my best today. And I lived it up. And I could only hope that I'll wake up tomorrow and live another day. You know, it's a miracle. But you got to do your best. Albert Einstein said, it's not that I'm so much smarter, or it's not that I'm so smart. It's that I stay with the problems longer. That's Albert Einstein. It's not that I'm so smart. It's that I stay with the problems longer. There's something to that. He did his best with that problem. That's why he stood longer with it. Will Smith. If you haven't yet, go to YouTube. Oh, you are on YouTube. Huh? And look up Will's Wisdom. There's some beautiful wisdom by Will Smith. And one of the things he says is, you know, he's not more talented than everybody else. He just has a thick work ethic. He also mentions get on the treadmill with me. You know, one thing between me and you, the difference between me and you is that I'm not afraid to die on that treadmill. You will stop first. And that's the epitome of doing your best. Doing your best is having that thick work ethic. I knew a gentleman when I was a bartender back in the days that was a guru in the financial world. He was extremely successful, extremely rich, and I asked him what was his secret. How is it that he got it done? And he said, well, first of all, I hated math. And I'm like, you in the financial world, you're a guru, and you hate math. And the reason I knew he was a guru is he had a Lamborghini, and whenever he didn't come in his Lamborghini, he came in his Ferrari. And he was just a regular Joe. And he said, you know, when in college I realized that I could take a math problem, hide in the closet all day, and I could figure it out. I wasn't that smart, but if I stood with it long enough, and then it came back to me, you know, years later when I read Albert Einstein's quote, it's not that I'm so smart, it's that I stay with the problem longer. Therefore, it made sense. You know, not too long ago in the restaurant where I work at, there was like a meeting, a few great minds, and they were in the financial world also, and they had just came from a convention of 500 of these guys. And no, I didn't have all 500 in the restaurant, but I had quite a big number. And one of the gentlemen, there was a top 5 that got certain awards, and 2 of the gentlemen were there, and they happened to be best friends. And one of the gentlemen goes to head to the bathroom and tells the other guy, hey, just don't share our secret of why we're so successful with the other guys. And they all start laughing, and his best friend says, hey, what is our secret? Then he says, well, we work harder and we work longer than them. And there's something to that. If you do your best, you will have that sick work ethic that Will Smith talks about. You will stay with the problems longer that Albert Einstein speaks of. You will hide in the closet with that problem like the guru, financial guru. Or you'll be in the top 5 out of 500. Like these 2 best friends, because they got to the office before everybody else, they left after everybody else, and they just had a sick work ethic. 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Never take anything personal. Never assume. Always do your best. These 4 agreements was passed down to me by an uncle of mine, which achieved great successes in his life. Went through his ups, went through his downs, and about 10 years ago, I spoke to him for the first time as an adult, and that's what he had to share with me, the 4 agreements. I couldn't really understand it because it was such a simple little book written by Don Miguel Ruiz. Get it if you haven't. He has many others on mastery of love and mastery of many other things. However, I went and bought that book as soon as I came back to Florida. This was in New York. And it started something. It ignited something. So I hope you enjoyed. Once again, the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Never assume. And always do your best. If you're like me, you write it in the back of your hand for at least a week or 2 on each one, and practice it. They're called agreements because sometimes you just don't agree with them. Therefore, you don't feel guilt, self-failure. That's one of the beauties of doing your best also. You never feel that self-failure. You always feel like you did your best. And I wrote them on the back of my hand, you know, for at least a week or 2. You know, I think I did about 2 weeks on each one. And to this day, sometimes I got to remind myself on them. You know, especially I'm a leader in my job, therefore I got to communicate a lot, and it's hard. Sometimes I got to remember to keep my mouth shut at times. I know that's hard for me to do. All right, so get your cup of coffee, get your cup of water, ponder on those 4 agreements, practice them, and enjoy today. I know I never told you this, but today is a miracle. Go out there, greet everybody like you've known them forever, surprise them, you know, give that firm handshake, and move through life like this is a miracle. This is heaven right here. Alright? Until tomorrow, next day, maybe the next day, next time I feel inspired. 4 agreements. 4 agreements. 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Never assume. Always do your best. Go out there. Take over the world. Take over your life. Enjoy. See ya.